So, are you able yet to answer the question, why am I not being my best self? This is what you want to be. It's what you can be because it's what you are. You are a divine being, a spark of consciousness. You, by your very nature, are when you be that way, you experience love, peace, joy, harmony, contentment, well being, but you don't. Why aren't you experiencing this daily? So, we have explored the beginning of the answer to this question. And the beginning is that you have a mind, and the mind's job is to grab thoughts out of the ether and bring it before your awareness, before you, what you are. And the mind, trying to do a really, really good job, it just keeps bringing thoughts and keeps bringing thoughts. And we've explored where this comes from. So often the thoughts are the thoughts that match us, that match our beliefs, our self identity. But here, let's go deeper. Let's really understand what is preventing us from being well. It is the thoughts, the endless thoughts, yes, but it's actually a little bit of a self feeding loop. You'll be familiar with this if you've seen the Pain Body series that I did. It's a collection of videos in a course right here on school. It's also on my YouTube channel. You'll find Eckhart Tolle talks about it in his books, both The Power of Now and The New Earth. It's also spoken about in many different spiritual contexts with different names. Some people call it samskaras, um, pain patterns, root thought patterns, whatever. There's lots of different places you can go and find out more. I encourage you to explore the Pain Body series. But here, let's summarize what this pain body loop is. So, your awareness, what you are, the awareness that you are, should be aware of your state of being that is well. But instead, it's aware of the thoughts. Why are the thoughts coming to you? Why is your mind selecting these thoughts? And why is your awareness fixating on it? If your neighbor's playing um his television really loud, let's say one, two, three neighbors are playing their television loud enough for you to hear it. All three of them, you can hear their TV sets. Why do you choose to listen to one more than the other? Why do you choose a particular thought or a particular place to place your awareness? Because literally, if you ignore the stream of thoughts, what you are is fantastic, perfectly content, perfectly happy. But you can't do that. What could possibly be more appealing than being well? I like to use the word now. I've shifted from pain body because I find the word incompletion expresses a different aspect of it. So the answer is incompletion. That's the that's the answer that you might resist less. Because if I said an emotional pain pattern caused by an incomplete emotional experience, you might be like, oh God, I don't want to go there. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. But here's the thing, you have to talk about it. That's not talk about it, but you have to acknowledge that it's there. That's the only way to heal this. You have to know what is stuck in you, what is jamming your gears. And it is not necessarily an emotional experience that you went through. It is an emotional experience that was so overwhelming, so deeply disturbing that it made you freeze. Think of an emotion as a storm cloud. It builds, it gets intense, it bursts, and then it disappears. That's the life cycle of the storm cloud. Same thing with an emotion. It has a life cycle. But you were so bothered by this emotion that you didn't let it live its life. You didn't let it burst, rain out, and dissipate back into energy where it came from. You took it, you bottled it, you put that storm in a jar, and you said, and you carried it with you. Not in your hands, but in your body. You took that little knot of energy and you put it in your body and you said, never going there again. Except that the way you work is you go there over and over and over because the answer to why do you think those thoughts, and why is your awareness or your consciousness there and not on your inherent state of, whoo, I'm pretty good, is because of what has not been completed, your incompletion, your pain body. Um, I want to say that we think that, when I say things like this, like, oh, it was an emotionally overwhelming experience or it was a trauma, you might think, okay, she's talking about, childhood sexual assault or a sudden death or witnessing a violent crime. And I am talking about that because let's be honest, those things are actually really common. But I'm also talking about what might seem like little things. Um, it can be a perceived sense of injustice between you and your sibling. It can be a moment where your mom or dad lost their temper and raised their voice and it scared you. It can be a time when you wanted to do something or not do something and your parents just said nope, you're doing it, and they dragged you and said do, and just made you do it. If you felt helpless, whatever the scenario is, even if it's uh, relatively mild bullying, because bullying, I'm not dismissing bullying, um or if it's just an injustice between friends, or if it's just um a power dynamic between you and your siblings and you are on the losing end of it, whatever it is, if you felt helpless, then helpless or shocked or betrayed or alone or abandoned. In other words, anything that made you feel the opposite of your divine nature. Your divine nature is connected, cared for, loved, well, and safe. And anything that made you feel the opposite of that, you just couldn't, like something blah, failure to process it, you couldn't process it. You couldn't fully allow it. You couldn't look at it and say, oh, that's an experience. So you caught it before it lived its life out, and you preserved it. You put it in some amber and it's still in there inside of you. And that is all it really wants. Think of it as an entity that just wants to live or needs to be fed. It either needs to be completed, dissipated like a storm cloud, or it needs to be fed, because a pain body is actually, it's an emotion. It's an emotional pain body or an emotional pattern or emotional incompletion, whatever. It's emotional, but what is an emotion? When we're talking about, remember, I'm talking about the layers of your being, the densities of consciousness. Consciousness or spirit moves as energy, experiences life as emotion, and then sinks and condenses down into physical matter. So it's a spectrum, like a rainbow, it's a spectrum. And let's just say emotion, energy, same thing, same thing. So when I say that there's an incomplete emotion or there's a stored emotion, it is actually a form of energy. And it is condensed, unnaturally distorted and condensed inside of your body. And what it wants is to stay alive. It needs to feed on more emotion of the same nature. So if you felt injustice, that critter, that parasite, that infection, that virus inside of you needs to continue to feed on energy that is of the form of injustice. If you felt pain, violence, sexual assault, there's a reason that, I mean, correct me if this statistic is wrong, but I've never seen it refuted anywhere. But 100% of people who commit sexual assault have been sexually assaulted. There's a reason that pain perpetuates. There's a reason that people who saw violence go and live violence, like they're compelled to it. But if you're living carrying milder forms of distorted energy, you're still attracted to it. If you saw betrayal, if you saw your mom or your dad, if you saw your dad betray your mom and you watched her cry and it broke your world as a child, you carry betrayal. You carry an energetic hunger for betrayal. If you had a rivalry between your brother or sister, whatever. Um, it sounds almost too silly when you say it, especially when you say it about supposedly milder things. But remember, you're dealing with the mind of a child who is disturbed and who, for the very first time, experienced separateness or injustice or vulnerability. So I remember working with a woman who had nothing in her life was working, and she was really really frustrated, and she couldn't understand anything about like her job, her career, her relationships, her financial situation. Nothing was working. And when she boiled it down and boiled it down and boiled it down, she realized that there was a rivalry between her and her sister. What parents might think is cute, like, oh, they fought over a lunch kit, you know. But that fight stayed with her. That fight when she was 4 or 5 years old stayed with her so long. And the fact, not only the fight with her sister, but the fact that her parents were there watching it and didn't intervene or defend her or support her. So now she feels the world is against me and nobody will look out for me. And she's forgotten that on a, at the level of awareness, like at the conscious mind, she's forgotten that. But it's been fueling and driving her entire life. Her entire life. When you pick anything in her life, relationships, job, whatever, and you boil it down, it's because there's an emotional and energetic need to experience rivalry, injustice, and not being protected and not being treated well. And I have seen dozens of these. I mean, if this is the first time you're hearing it, you might rebel against the concept, but read more, watch more, ask around more, look more, and seek more insight, and you realize, oh, damn, that is how that works. Um, yeah, it's none of us were raised by parents who were perfectly well educated in the art of parenting, who had perfectly balanced emotional lives. And they all did things that at some point or the other made us feel betrayed. And the little us, the 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old, 4 year old, 5 year old us, little children who really were just disturbed, took that and put it inside and said, I shall carry this. Anyhow, the thing that you carry is hungry. It needs to feed. And that means it will go out and feed on other people. It will put itself in a situation. If that pain pattern, that pain body, or that incompletion is of betrayal, then either you will end up in a relationship with someone who betrays you, or you will be compelled to betray them, or you will go out and look at people and realize, oh, everybody betrays everybody, and then you won't trust anybody. You won't ever have a relationship. So it seeks that energy from other people or from situations. It either tries to trigger an emotional reaction in someone else to feed it, or it tries to trigger an emotional reaction in you to get the energy from you. Remember, you are a funnel of energy of the divine. This thing you call consciousness is a flow of energy coming into this earth, and that energy will feed the pain body. If you don't have, maybe in addition to feeding in your life, feeding at work, and feeding in your family, and feeding with your spouse or your partner, the pain body will also feed on you. And if you, let's say you're not living with someone, you don't have a significant life partner relationship right now, who's it going to feed on? Who's it going to feed on? It's going to feed on you. So it goes and it draws like a magnet thoughts. Thoughts are like, with kids in a crib, a mobile, they're just things moving. That's what thoughts are to your awareness. And what is your awareness? Your awareness is energy in motion. It is consciousness coming into energy, coming into movement, and then condensing into form. So it is sucking your awareness and taking that energy that's supposed to go into your body, that's supposed to go into the world, that's supposed to go into creativity, that's supposed to go into inspiration. That energy is now being sucked into a stream of thoughts, that will cause you, this is the important part, it will cause an emotional reaction within you that will convert the energy into the type of emotion that that pain body inside of you is seeking to feed on. So the reason that you are not experiencing your divine nature that you already are, the wellness, the contentment and peace that you already have, the reason you're not experiencing it is because your awareness is not being allowed to experience it. Because your awareness is focused on your thoughts, and your thoughts are being selected by an emotional incompletion inside of you that is hungry for your emotional reaction. I would say to most people that this is hard to absorb, and most people would resist this and fight this. But if you're here, if you're watching this video, it's because you're already aware of this. You suspect it. Maybe you don't have the exact same words to describe it that I do, but you suspect it. And you've seen it because the consciousness that you are, that has been hypnotized by this for decades, is beginning to say, I don't want to do this anymore. Let's not do this anymore. Come on, shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. And it is creating just the tiniest little gap between this unconscious compulsion, waste of energy, emotional drain, and what you are, the consciousness that you are, the light that you are. A little tiny gap is showing up, and you go, huh? What? There's a loop there. There's a loop, there's a pattern, and you know the pattern is there, and you know you cannot stop. I know that that's a miserable place to be in terms of experience, to know that you cannot stop what you know is not good for you, but it is actually a really good place to be because you are aware of it. To be aware of it is to have consciousness, spirit, God awaken you and say, hey, it's time to address. Do you smell the smoke? I think your house is on fire. Like, it's just saying, time to wake up. Let's go. Let's deal with this. And the thing that is awakening will continue to awaken, and it will lead you to an understanding of what you need to surrender, what you need to rip out from inside of you. And I say rip out, but it's not really that painful. And look at. That's the painful part. The part where you look at it and you say, I acknowledge, I see. I do not resist you. I do not hate you. I allow you. I acknowledge that this came from when I was hurt. I let you be. And then that's the painful part. The hard part is surrendering it. Because surrender, and this is why, like, I know when we were doing module 2 and stuff, you're like, why are we talking about the mind? Because the ego, that separate self that arose as a result of your pain and decided to protect you, is you're so used to being that ego that you're not going to instinctively, you're going to really resist going back to your divine state, going back to a state that is the only state that will heal it. Please look at module 2, video 5, the doctor is the disease. If I could boil down, if you watch 100 videos and if I had 100 videos and you could only watch 2, I would say watch the doctor is the disease over and over until you grasp that the ego and every single thing that the ego tries to do to heal you, as well intentioned as they are, will not work, cannot work, because of who is doing the healing. And the next video that I would boil down the 100 videos to is called The Self as the Healer, which is the very next video that will be out next. And that explains that it is the disease is that you are identified with the wrong layer of consciousness, and healing can only occur when the higher level of consciousness comes in. Transmutation, as Eckhart Tolle calls it, energy alchemy, as I refer to it sometimes, pattern completions, whatever, dissolution, whatever you want to call it, different practices call it different things, only occurs in the light of divine consciousness. Darkness cannot get rid of darkness. Only light can dissolve darkness. So the hard part is trusting and surrendering your will and saying, I don't want this. and I humbly admit that I cannot fix it. And I ask for help from a higher place. And once you do that, once you see, accept, choose not to carry it anymore, and then surrender to higher power, it disappears. It disappears, people. It really does. We're going to learn that in the Self as the Healer. The next step we're going to learn is the identification part, because you have to, I mean, you could sometimes just pray and say, take it all from me. You can do that if you want, but almost always how it works is slow and gradual, where the higher consciousness shows you one pattern at a time and says, you're ready to release this one. You're ready to release this one. And it comes into your awareness. The conviction in your mind that you're ready to release it shows up. So that identifying part is a big part. And that's the next exercise that we do. And then the next video that we do is the Self as a Healer. And the exercise that goes with that is, okay, so this mysterious thing called the Self as the Healer, how do we bring it in? Where is this higher consciousness located? And, do we walk up to its door and knock on it? How do we get the higher consciousness to transmute, dissolve, evaporate, the unresolved patterns that we carry inside of ourselves? So yeah, I encourage you to really to participate and really experience and understand the next exercise, which is identifying patterns, incomplete patterns, identifying incomplete patterns, because that is something that you're going to be doing on your healing journey a lot. When you're going through spiritual awakening, there's a period, an intense period, where you do it all the time. It's almost like your life stops and all you do is release, release, heal, release, identify, heal, release, identify, heal, release. Identify, release, heal, whatever. And that's an intense period. And then also for the rest of your life, forever, you will still do that same process of identifying, releasing, and healing. And it just won't be as intense. It won't be as many big, huge patterns, but it will always occur. So it's important to master that process. So if you want to understand more about how pain bodies affect your life, your relationships, your family, your generational curses, generational trauma, then look at the pain body course in the classroom tab on school. If you want to understand how to identify the patterns, that's the very next workshop. Check the calendar if you're doing this live, or the next video in the series if you're watching this video later on. And if all of this is a lot, at the least watch The Doctor is a Disease over and over and over and over and over. Pray and meditate and contemplate until it sinks in. And then watch the next video, The Self is the Healer. Those two things answer the question, why am I not experiencing being the wellness, the happiness, the contentment that I know I am? Why am I not being my divine self? Hang in there. There is hope. There's nothing but hope. This whole journey is only good news. Everything that you see is part of the process of cleaning up. Do not get resucked into the loop of identifying with the pain by being overwhelmed or daunted by the pain. That you see the pattern is evidence that the pattern is no longer fully alive. It's the first step in the death of the pattern. Okay? So we'll do this together. You got this. Hang in there. It's a wonderful journey. Thank you.